MG Rob back with you, and today we're going to take a look at my next project I'm going to be doing after the green Phoenix is done, and that is my 59 MGA coupe here. I think I called it a 58 the other day, but I keep getting confused whether it's a 58 or 59, but you know, 58, 59, whatever it takes, you know. But I bought this car as it sits right now, and I know nothing about it. I've never even looked underneath of it yet to see how well any of the modifications were done, and if it's even a truly viable project and something safe to drive. Picked this up for just a couple $100 years ago, put it aside, had no thought of doing anything with it for a long time. But now that we're on YouTube, seems like it'd be a good project now, and I've got some ideas for it. And we're going to do some fun stuff with this thing. And it's going to involve not only MGA and Mustang parts, but also some Volkswagen stuff. So what we have here is it's actually an MGA coupe and chassis, but somebody, a couple owners before me had chopped the whole front end off right at the goalposts here, and everything from there forward came out of a 74 Mustang II, including the suspension, engine, transmission, steering column, pedal box, the whole works. And then they put the rear axle from the Mustang II in the back as well. Now, since I knocked the exhaust off the left side of it, loading it on a trailer the other day, I need to get this thing up in the air so that I can see what I can do about that, or at least keep it from dragging the ground so I can move the car around. So now's as good a time as any to take a look at the car and see what's underneath there. So today is literally the first time I've ever seen this thing off the ground, because when I got it, I just pushed it off the trailer and pushed it aside and never looked at it. So let's take a look. It's looking like they've obviously mashed on this stuff back, so I don't know my Mustang IIs very well, or at least I can't remember much from them, so I'll have to do some reference back to photos of them and see what we got. I'm guessing there's supposed to be some spacers behind here, and they pulled the rack back some, and that's why they did this. And then it looks like this is homemade here, and I'm not quite sure why, other than I think these brackets are supposed to go forward, so they've either moved the engine a little bit in relation to the cross member from what it originally was, or they dropped it lower. I'll have to check on that. But they took the whole chassis rails here all the way back to here and put them in. And it's not done as bad as I feared it might have been done. I'm not going to say it's a wonderful job, but it's I've seen a heck of a lot worse. We can work with this. Looks like it's at least strong. That's the main thing. There's a few things I probably would have done a little differently. But I didn't do it, and this is what I'm working with. So we'll start from this point. Looks like you got a piece of 2-inch square tubing here for a cross member bolted in. They put the parking brake cable, looks like all the brake lines, everything from the Mustang is in here. And the Mustang parts don't look like they're rotted out, so that's good. Now I caught this exhaust clamp on the edge of the trailer, just barely caught it right down here, and it ripped the manifold right there, right out. And it turns out those are not easy to find at all. And headers are non-existent anymore. They stopped making headers 10 years ago. I found one right side hanger or exhaust manifold on eBay, but I broke the left, so we'll see. I might end up having to buy a gasket and making a flange and building my own headers just to have something for this. But I did find out that, I don't know if they fit as far as where they dump, but all the way up to early 80, up to 85, Ranger, early Aerostar, and stuff like that. Anything with the 2.8, they'll at least bolt onto the engine, but not the 2.9. So, but that stuff's getting so hard to find anymore. So we got the drive shaft, I'm guessing was shortened at some point. And it's got the 6 3/4 rear end. Now I did check the tag on it here. It's a 355 gear ratio. I did that just before we fired up the camera here. I'm assuming at this point that the shocks, brake hoses, and all that stuff is all just stock 74 Mustang. And this gas tank maybe is Mustang gas tank as well. If not, then I have no idea what it's from. But it does seem to fit the area really nicely, and the original straps modified to fit, so yeah. Looks like as long as it's not rotted all the crap inside, we can probably use that or source a replacement for it. And then they put a big bar across there and took the bottom of the rear valance off. But we can work with this. It's at least workable. Should be strong enough to not worry about if something happens with anything more than 20 miles an hour, or at least not any more than a normal MGA. So yeah, you're seeing the underside pretty much just as I'm seeing it. So that's what we got to work with. So I guess I'm gonna make a bit of a correction. I didn't catch that on the trailer. I caught this. For some reason they had this bend down here, so that hangs quite a bit lower than the other side. I'm pretty much a full, 1.5 inches or so lower. And right there, that's where I hit the trailer. Broke that thing right off. Oops. So I decided to pull the exhaust back up in place so I can get this at least, seated in place so maybe it doesn't leak so bad, and held in place so it's not dragging on the ground. And I just jerry-rigged it by putting a little strap around the pipe and pulling it up to the frame to hold it in place for now, just till I decide what to do. And I got up in here and realized that, see that? At first I thought it had been broken before, but then I seen back here what it was to make this thing fit in there, they cut the outlet off the back, put a plate on the end of it, brazed it on, and then cut a hole in here and brazed it on here. So this would be a pretty thin area of the manifold, and it broke pretty easily because it didn't catch the trailer very hard at all. So even if I did find one of these manifolds, it wouldn't fit. Well, I guess I'm feeling a little stupid right now. Of course the engine placement in this thing is not where it was in the Mustang, and that's why they had to do the modifications that they did. Because the front suspension was a lot further back in relation to the engine in the Mustang. And after a little bit of digging around and looking at this thing, I found that the engine seems to be set back about 18 inches in the frame and down about 3 or 4 from where it would have been in the Mustang in relationship to the crossmember. Because the radiator actually would have been bolted right to the back side of this, and it's clear back here. It just didn't hit me when I was standing underneath of it. So I got some more parts I got to gather for this thing yet, but I might actually get started on it sooner than I originally thought. I started thinking about the Green Phoenix, and at least for the next several weeks, as her schedule allows working on the interior, it's really going to be all her, and I don't really have to work on it any. And I may just try to sneak over onto this thing and get started figuring out some of the modifications I want to do.